people. Welcome back to the Mrs. Best Reviews channel. I am Mrs. Best. Today, we are here to go over a documentary. This documentary is titled The Cult of Cosmic Intelligence. Where did I find this documentary? I just be using all these apps and stuff. I did watch this documentary on HBO Max app, but I think it's also on cable and likely able to be found on Hulu as well. It is a People Magazine and Investigation Discovery collab. I found it to be interesting. At first I was like, do I want to cover this? But it's been a minute since I've covered a documentary on my channel. So let's get into the Cult of Cosmic Intelligence. Bear with me. As always, I want to give out a big thank you to the amazing mods on this channel: American Born, Kiwan JTV, Mrs. AKA, Shayna _MCD, Shani, as well as Also Best. I do appreciate all of my moderators. They help to keep the space safe, help me to stay compliant, and all of those good things. And as always, check out the Black Creator Spotlight that is in the description of this video. There are links to several great creators, all people of color, from everything from reviews to travel to music and more. Tap in, tap in, tap in. But let's get into this review. Well, really just my quick thoughts, but I'm curious to hear how you guys felt about this documentary. If you watched it, if you're interested in watching, let me know in the comments. Now, we are introduced to Ruben Mitchell, who's a private investigator who runs an online group that donates time to locating missing children. Your heart got to be real big. Okay, your heart got to be real big. I think a lot of us care, but to take it a step further to look for people's kids, I think that's like one of the kinder things, of course, that one could do. Now, Ruben got a call from someone asking to locate their daughter, and their daughter was allegedly a part of a cult called the Missouri, or a part of a cult and a group of missing people linked to this cult. Now, the missing people have a name. They're known as the Missouri Six, and he was willing to help out this person because Ruben says that his daughter was got by the same cult. I said, oh, I was not expecting that. I literally just thought that maybe he was just the PI for this, but for him to be the person who's also been impacted by it, it makes it to where we're like, okay, you're relevant. I believe you can help people more when you understand their struggle and what they've been through. So I really did appreciate, my allergies are bothering me, y'all. And I've had like itchy eyes for, man, it's been a minute. Anywho, but he is definitely going to be more invested in offering support with the fact that he understands what it feels like and what it's like to go through your loved one coming up missing. Now, we're going to come back to Ruben, but just think of how they started this documentary. I'm going to say Ruben's story did not end the way I thought it would based on what we were introduced to him as at the beginning of the episode. Now, also at the beginning of this documentary, we meet a woman named Darshell, and she is the ex-girlfriend of the leader of this cult we're going to discuss, whose name was Rashad Jamal. Now, Rashad Jamal and her are both musicians. He was a rapper. It sounds like Darshell was a singer. And she explains how she got with him. Now, when she got with Rashad, she explained that she was familiar with the fact that he had previously done time and dealt with the law as it relates to domestic violence. But she says she believed that he had changed and that he wasn't like that anymore, which is fair. But I think with women, when people, like with crimes like hitting women, like, I know this sounds bad. I'm not going to treat you like a bad person, but I'm not giving you a shot at dating me. I'm not giving you a shot at basically harming me in any way. Because I believe if you'll hit a woman once, you'll do it again. You just got to be mad enough. And maybe he just ain't been mad enough since then. I know that sounds negative, but that's genuinely how I feel. But she explains that Rashad made up and created the University of Cosmic Intelligence. And I'm like, where did the cosmic stuff come into it? I was kind of like, what is going on? But she explains that he kind of just came up with this and was in the teachings and stuff, which is common. A lot of people end up in things. But she says that when COVID happened, things got worse. And it seems like I believe when we discussed Nature Boy, I did also go over the cult of Nature Boy on my channel a couple months back. I will be sure to include that at the end of this video. It'll pop up on the screen for people to watch. But it was something similar with the cult of Nature Boy. Like, COVID just really helps these things like crescendo out of control is really what it gives. Now, during COVID, the things that specifically impacted Rashad Jamal to where he really felt the need to spread information and his cosmic intelligence was unfortunately after the unaliving of George Floyd. Not just George Floyd, but it was several African-American people that were being unalived during COVID by police and people who are melanin redacted, aka the colorless, aka Caucasian. And I understand that not all people of the melanin redacted race are like that. I have some wonderful melanin redacted subscribers, fabulous ones. But, you know, unfortunately, every race, every ethnicity has some bad people in their little group. It's just a fact. Now, I can understand why he was moved because of George Floyd and the things that were happening during COVID. I can understand him spreading information. Now, at first, he started to explain his beliefs and spread information about ancient gods. And he taught about Planet Key. And there was, I hope I say this right, the Anunnaki, an ancient race of gods. He says that all Black people come from this. And that's kind of where stuff started to get a little more serious as it relates to him building a following. Now, after so long and growing up a following that was strong enough, he started to take in money. He started to benefit and monetize off of his social media. And I found it interesting that at this time he was with Darshell, dating her. They had a new baby, and he did not tell her ever how much money he was receiving. And I'm like, you didn't tell this lady how much money you was receiving, but she had your baby and you living in her house. Maybe you don't have to tell her, but he better have been breaking her off a piece of something as it relates to giving her cash. But I get the feeling that was not the case. But Darshell tells us that Rashad started to get more into like medication, crystals, and things of that nature. And I guess him getting into meditation and crystals is where stuff got weird. This is where we're first introduced to the, I believe they called it sun meditation. I thought that was odd. But he was trying to encourage people to grow their own food, similar to Nature Boy and all these others that's done it. It's like, my God, if you're going to create a cult and ruin the lives of people and their loved ones, can you at least be original? Like, it just sounds like I'm recapping Nature Boy again. But he meditated with crystals. He encouraged people to grow their own food, live off grid so that the government can't trace you, tell you what to do, or control you. And he called this as his following grew and his followers continued to follow what he did, he referred to this as what's called a mass awakening. And this mass awakening, because people was randomly going off grid, it did cause a lot of missing person reports and a lot of missing people. Now we get to meet a woman named Jamaica, and she was the cousin of a woman named Michaela, who is a part of the Missouri Six who are missing. She explains to us that Michaela had a little baby. The baby is also a part of the missing six. And unfortunately, after having the baby, they say they kind of saw the light leave Michaela. They know that she loved her daughter, but they said that she was struggling really bad with postpartum depression, which is extremely common, whether women realize they have it or not. And as a result of her struggling, she connected with another cousin who was also named Michaela, but this was Michaela Thompson. And Michaela Thompson, the cousin, was already a follower of Rashad Jamal and the cult of cosmic intelligence. And things just got out of hand. She started hanging out with that cousin, and then Michaela is said to have changed her Facebook name to names that reflect the cult. In addition to changing her Facebook name, she started moving random people who also followed Rashad Jamal's teachings into her home. And she stopped responding to her family. They had a group chat, very common for families. She just totally stopped responding to the group chats, and she stopped speaking with families. So the cousin that we see, Miss Jamaica, on this documentary, she says that Michaela's family, like her mom, her sister, they were upset that she stopped talking to them. So Jamaica was like, I'm going to go over there and get to the bottom of that. That's the cousin I am. Okay. And my cousin Trey, free him. He is loved. But that is the type of cousin I am. You ain't just going to fall off the face of the earth. You stop answering the group chat, I'm coming to find you. I'm coming to find you. Why not? So I was happy to see that, someone cared about Michaela enough to go and check on her. Curious about if they checked on the other cousin, Michaela Thompson, or if she was already kind of isolated because of this cult. But I'm also starting to think that, Michaela probably fell into it even deeper. And that's probably why she stopped communication, because she was already struggling with postpartum, as it sounds. And that does things to your mind, your body, your spirit, how you think. It does things to you. Now, they did a welfare check because when they went to the house to see Michaela, there was really nothing they could do. Now, the first time the cousin came, Michaela told her that they're no longer her family, and they didn't speak again. The second time Jamaica went by to Michaela's house, everything was emptied out. The windows were busted. Michaela was gone. No one was there. There were things that were odd, like bags of water with copper and pennies at the bottom of it, lipstick writing on the mirror that said, I think it was, I am that I am, some weird saying that he followed. And all 6 people in the house were gone. Like, nobody took anything out of their bank accounts. Nobody had an app you could trace. Like, everybody was gone, which is unfortunate and very odd. So away from that, Rashad Jamal is saying, and now teaching as this is happening, that Black people had what's known as a carbonated life, and that sun worshiping is something that's vital. And he began to encourage his followers to do sun worshiping, which was literally going out in the sun and just staying for hours. Very odd. He also began to say like more outlandish things, saying that people needed hydrogen and not oxygen to survive, and saying that cloning of people was real and that half of us are just clones. I said, my goodness. And I found it interesting because at some point in this documentary, they explain, the family of Jamaica explains that they recovered pictures from neighbors of Michaela and the 6 people in the house, including the kids, coming outside on the front lawn naked, worshiping the sun. So that's a clear telltale sign that they were following the teachings of this man, which is also kind of strange because I'm just like, you were doing what? Why were you doing this? I'm just not understanding it. Like, very strange. But it's interesting that Rashad's girl, Darshell, at the time, thought that he needed help when he started saying these outlandish things. And she also admits that she didn't follow or believe his message. If you didn't follow his message, if you didn't believe in what he was saying, and you watched him amassing all of these followers, and you thought that he needed some type of psychiatric help, why didn't you help him to get it? I'm not saying she could have made him get it, but I'm just kind of like, you could have went to police. Like, people are following him, and I'm very concerned. I understand she had to worry about her household and stuff, but I would have known my man is building some sort of something toxic and looked for help somewhere. But I get that she could only do what she can do, so I'm not even coming down on Darshell. Now we get back to Ruben, the gentleman who's a PI, who says that his daughter was also impacted by this cult. And he explains that the mother of his daughter is a woman named Quatasia. Her mother did not like her naming her that. That is it. That is all. Do better with how we name our kids, Black people. That's all. Now, Quatasia is a woman that he had met, and he decided to help her, and they ended up developing a romantic relationship. She got pregnant, but he was never able to see the pregnancy through because 6 months into her pregnancy, she disappeared and did exactly what Michaela and those 6 people did in the house, and disappeared and entirely went dark. He was worried and concerned because he did not hear from her for 6 years, but she was pregnant with his child. He eventually locates her 6 years later because he's a great PI, and he also has the background of the Navy and the Marines. And when he located this woman, Quatasia, she was in a cult, as he says. He says he was able to FaceTime her, and that Quatasia would not give him her location, but she did allow him to have a relationship with his kid. keep that in mind, because towards the end of this documentary, we learned that his daughter thought that he wasn't even alive. So I'm like, how did she build a relationship with you? Who did the daughter think that he was? That would be my biggest question. But he wasn't able to have the location of where she was at. So he had a relationship with his child virtually. And Quatasia would start talking to him about, clones and all sorts of crazy stuff. And he just was like, oh yeah, she's definitely in a cult, and was just trying to find her. Now, eventually, Mr. Rubin gets a message from Quatasia saying that their daughter is unalive and that she's a clone. And this worried him, because she went from kooky to, okay, now my child's in danger, and you already took her away from me. If I was him, I would have been went to the court. Like, this lady got pregnant and disappeared. Like, I would have been went. But I guess her contacting him and sending that message, he took the message and was worried, and he filed for emergency custody of his daughter. In the case that he was able to locate her, he could get her and she not have to go into the system. And because he filed for emergency custody of his daughter, he was able to get access to her school. I guess living off grid didn't fully apply to Quatasia or Quatasia. I don't know how to pronounce her name, so I apologize for that. But she did have the daughter enrolled in elementary school, and he was able to find her school in DC. The little girl was so afraid when he describes the reunification of him and his daughter. It sounds like the daughter was so afraid because the mother had serious problems and messed her up and basically told her lies about who this man was. The daughter thought that her father was not alive, which is terrible, which is absolutely terrible. Absolutely terrible. But he was able to get his daughter, which I was happy to hear. I think that's wonderful, the dedication that it took. And listen, I'd rather you find that little girl at 7 versus 17. At least at 7, you can still shape her. You can still mold her. You can still give her a shot at having some type of a memorable childhood. Some type of something. But that the daughter, it really broke my heart. She had to learn to trust her father, which is unfortunate. Now, by this time that he located his daughter, Rashad Jamal was actively trying to brainwash his children and his family now that he has developed a cult and a loyal following. He became controlling and violent. That's what Darcel says. And Darcel says that her daughter came to her and explained that, I don't know what I'm allowed to say on YouTube because I'm newly monetized. But it turns out that Rashad Jamal is a PDF file. He was touching children in places that he should not touch them inappropriately and in an adult manner. And he was having the children to touch him in an inappropriate manner. You sick, raggedy fuck of a man. This is exactly why I do not just buy into or follow anybody's belief. I need to see 4 letters behind your name, or MD. It could be 2 to 4. I need to see some letters behind your name, some professionalism. It's unfortunate because a lot of people turn to cults because they feel like vulnerable or like they're going through something. But I know Darcel had to be so hurt by that. Because when you think domestic violence, you don't think he's going to be a PDF file and do something to my child. So I feel for Darcel. She did what she is supposed to do. And she immediately went to the police, filed a report, and they put out a warrant for Rashad Jamal's arrest. And I thought it was wonderful that she did that, because she says her daughter said that she didn't say anything because she was ashamed. And I love that she soothed her child. She let her child know you have nothing to be ashamed about, and then showed her child that she's handling business, and Rashad is the one who should be ashamed. So I appreciate her for handling that. I think that's how every parent should handle those types of things. I had a different experience. My mama did not believe me, and to this day it has caused like real life relationship issues, not to get too personal. So I'm always happy to see that, sometimes parents can't stop their kids from being harmed, but you can control your response to it. And I'm glad to see that Darcel was supportive, left him, and went straight to the police. That's what you're supposed to do to all the parents out there. So Round of applause to that lady. Now, unfortunately, there's a warrant out for his arrest. The problem is his followers are starting to get more radical, and they're also catching charges as well. So a lot of his followers we saw were catching charges. Many of them were violent, ended up with charges that were on the news and charged with absolutely egregious crimes that I'm not going to discuss on my channel. But, you know, a lot of his followers also had a sick mind in the same way that he did. Now, we later learned that Ruben's daughter was also dealing with PDF files as a result of being around people related to the cult of cosmic intelligence. And she didn't really want to tell Ruben. She said something once Ruben found out that he had an inkling that she might have been harmed. And so he took her to talk with the FBI to try and get the cult. And she disclosed everything to the FBI because she didn't want to see her dad cry or get upset for what had happened to her. Now, the FBI did explain towards the end of this documentary that Rashad Jamal may not have anything to do with the missing 6 people. But I think that's an irresponsible statement because they were worshiping the sun and they're probably living off grid because of his recommendation and his teachings. And that put them at risk. That put them at risk. So I do feel like he should still be held accountable for the missing 6. They still have not been located. I encourage anybody that's watched this documentary, if you're in the state of Missouri or have seen people that look like these people, don't be afraid to call them tip lines and things like that, because we want people to be okay and to be located, but I'm just not sure. And the FBI says they believe that the children are being greatly harmed, which is unfortunate. I'm just so tired of cults. I'm just so tired of cults. But the positive to this story is Ruben's daughter is doing great. She's a kid. She says her dad is her hero. She seems to be getting a second chance at a normal, positive life. And I always love to see things like that. So that is a positive. Rashad Jamal. I don't know, dude. It's crazy that there's not like more laws as it relates to that in terms of stopping cults, but hopefully there's more that can be done, because I just feel like a lot of times the people with cults, they go down for something else versus their actual cult. He did get, I think it was like 17 years, they said in a documentary. I forgot to write that part down, so my apologies. Yes, I just looked it up. He got 18 years in prison for what he did to his former partner's 10-year-old daughter. And then he also has a lot of probation, like over 20 years of probation. So, you know, I don't think 18 years is enough for the lifelong struggle that little girl will go through, but at least there was some type of justice. But let me know how you guys felt about this documentary. If there's any other documentaries you are interested in me covering, there's one other documentary that's on HBO that I'm going to say, but the title of it has Unalive in it. But y'all will see it once it's here on these YouTube streets. As always, I appreciate everybody. I appreciate all of y'all. A huge thank you to my mods that are in this video and or review. A bigger thank you to everybody who supports and watches the channel. I hope y'all like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see y'all for the next review. Au revoir.